r/ask Reddit. What was ruined by rich people? Every single piece of water with accessible waterfronts. Edit. Wow. Lots of upvotes. Going forward, upvotes will be $8. Hawaii Constitution makes any place with sand touching the ocean to be publicly accessible. Definitely appreciate them for that one. Similar here in Oregon. All beaches are publicly accessible. Housing. Used to be the only people buying houses were those that were intending to live in them. Now you have rich people looking into investing in real estate. And guess what? Rich houses are poor investments. So rich people are buying up all the affordable housing, driving up the price and creating scarcity. I cry every time I look at Zillow. Same. No way I am paying $250,000 for a outdated home that most likely needs work. Edit. It sounds like the majority of you live on the West Coast, which I did at one point in my life as well. I live on the East Coast, turned into Cali after I arrived. $4 a gallon for regular gas. Rent for a 2-bedroom apartment approaching $1,000. And old houses upwards of $250,000. It used to be $2.40/gallon. $800 month. And homes were going for $170,000. So many things. But I'll say trucks. Once upon a time, a humble working class vehicle for people who need to be able to do things themselves. Now they're all luxury vehicles with massive margins, unaffordable to anyone who needs them to do real work. And they're all ducking humongous now. I was so excited that Ford was bringing back the Ranger until I found out it's as big as the F-150 was a decade ago. Give me a compact pickup that isn't 20 years old and rusted to shit. My understanding is that, in America, large vehicles getting larger is, at least in part, a consequence of a particular aspect of the EPA emissions regulation. That larger vehicles can have a worse emissions rating, so they make trucks bigger so the bar is lower. Everest. Hey man, our gods live up there and Sagarmatha is a holy site of pilgrimage for Buddhists. 8. I'm our climate and die. Don't forget all the shits they took on it before dying. Old school ski mountains with family vibes and stoner lifties rocking to music. We always watched those silly ski patrol movies about the big corporations coming in and making them yuppaville, and then it happened. New people bought the local mountain and they were desperately trying to find guys to work there. Lots of people were interested until they found out there was a mandatory drug test. Imagine drug testing your ski bums in a legal state. Something tells me that policy is gone next year. I work at a local hill that was bought by a large corporation a little over a year ago. At their introductory meeting for all employees, they said while there is a drug test, marijuana is not a disqualifier. Sounds like a lesson they learned the hard way. The middle class. They absolutely bodied the middle class. I wonder if I'll ever get to live the 20s that people always recommend, where you get to travel and do the shit you want to do. Mayo, I wonder if I'll ever own my own place or if I'll be stuck at home for most my life. I'm in my 40s and my boomer-aged mom said to me last night, this is the time of your life. For you should be smooth sailing and enjoying life, doing everything you ever wanted, and I'm over here I'm going WTF did I do to make my life so shitty? Colorado. Why is everyone saying Colorado? Can someone explain this for the international crowd? CO born and raised here. Forever priced out of my hometown. Me and all my friends have moved. Just can't afford to live there anymore. Mostly expensive due to housing. Also, skiing used to be affordable. Now it's not. Beaches. Overdevelopment. They duck it up every damn time. Rich people have ruined a lot of things in California. But one thing I love about the state is that you cannot own the beaches. Every beach is public access. No trashy fences blocking off sections of private beach access like in Florida. I have learned a few things after positing my comment. First, Florida has a similar law to California, but some resort owners abuse a loophole where they put up fences in private property and force people to pay if they want to pass through. Is this legal under Florida law? I don't know. I'm not an expert. From what Floridians are saying, this is a fairly uncommon practice. Thank you to all who replied. I learned a decent amount about beach access laws and loopholes. Ultimately, I hope wherever you live, you can fight against legislation seeking to block public access to your beaches. Everyone should have the right to enjoy the coasts along this beautiful country. Wish it was so simple. The wet sand part of every beach is public access. Dry sand can be owned. And some richies will indeed hire private security to patrol their beach. Thrifting. Thrifting is cool when it's rich people donating and poor people buying. For sure, garage sales in rich neighborhoods are something else. Concerts and sporting events. Even NASCAR tickets are expensive now. My god, I swear basketball tickets are thrice as expensive as they were pre-pandemic. Why is pork shoulder and oxtail so expensive? It literally used to be the parts nobody wanted. You can thank the Food Network and Food Documentarian for that. Once people started learning how to cook them, they went nuts. Cries and chicken wings. There used to be a really nice big park in the center of the city where I live. Everyone would go there. It was a nice open space. Take your kids. Take your dogs. Enjoy the fresh air. Then some people from the rich part of town along the edges of the park decided they didn't like the noise coming from the park and pulled some bullshit to buy it out and walled it off so you couldn't go to the park unless you lived in that specific neighborhood anymore. The worst part is a ton of money was spent when they first bought it building it up, adding fountains and children's play areas and redoing the flower beds. And then no money or attention was given to it again and the whole place fell into disrepair, so now even if you live in the neighborhood you can't go there because everything is falling apart and overgrown. So the arseholes took the really nice park from everyone else and then neglected it until it became a shithole in the middle of the city. Some of the country's best racetracks have dealt with this similar thing. Track gets built out in the boonies. Boonies get bought and rich folk move in. Complain about track noise. Sometimes gets the track shut down. Personally, I believe some sort of it was here first regarding things like parks and racetracks should exist to stop this from happening. Happens with gun clubs too. One near me was opened in 1926 in a very isolated part of the boonies. Now the people that built houses on Gun Club Road are complaining about the noise of the gun club. I stopped going to professional sports because I can only afford shitty seats. Not worth the effort anymore. For a fun day out with you and a friend at an NFL game will run you around $500. Or you could watch it on your big screen TV at home, which has better play-by-play and angles than being at the game where you end up watching half of it on a monitor anyway. Unless I get tickets for free, I don't even bother going to sporting events anymore. Baseball is the only sport I'll go to. Can still find $5 cheap seat tickets or less than $40 standing room tickets for rivalry games. Duck basketball and football tickets. Cheap and simple dishes. Ramen. Tacos. Sushi. Now everything's gotta be labeled premium only to taste the exact same, if not worse. I love that taco trucks charge somewhere between $1 and $20 for tacos. Went to a taco food truck. They put like 100 ingredients on one taco and charge $20. I would rather go to the Mexican place down the street and get a plate of 4 tacos for $10. Burning Man was the first thing I thought of when Mark Zuckerberg is helicoptering in to stay in a billionaire camp with air-conditioned mobile homes. Burning Man has lost whatever counterculture standing it had. Yay, this one is weird. This used to be exclusive to people that really did embrace the underworld and counterculture. Then one day, you couldn't if you didn't have money. Any hobby where there's potential profit. Now you've got dongheads like the Logan Paul ruining Pokemon cards. Not because they're into them because they like Pokemon, but because they read the stories about the rare cards and just hammered their endless piles of cash into getting everything. Same with those a-hole sheiks with massive comic book collections. They don't give a duck about comics. They just collect popular valuable stuff. As a side note to this, career scalpers resellers. The fact that you can't just wait for the release day of something and remember to buy it at some point that day week. All because some a-hole is going to grab 800 copies of them for their eBay storefront, where they already have the stuff up for pre-order at 8x the original MSRP, is infuriating. As an example, to follow your Pokemon one, they had limited edition Pokemon sleeves, sold a pack of 80 for like $8. They were on eBay 3 days later. $8 for a single sleeve, $640 if they sold every sleeve at that price. All off a single $8 purchase that they hoarded dozens of actual fans of the franchise out of. Absolutely disgusting. YouTuber Carl Jobst had a good video on this for vintage video games. Basically, a new grader named Water Games came out of nowhere, claimed to be the lead in the industry for rating in-box games. Entirely false. Multiple others already existed, and the owner had zero history. Any game Water listed was sold by Heritage Auction House for over $1 million. You used to be able to get a new in-box Mario Bros. NES game for like $1,000 if someone was selling. Now they are millions a piece, until they got sued. Very much a plainly obvious scam. Aspen, Colorado. Yay. It used to be a small mountain town way back in the day. Now all of Colorado is unaffordable. Yup, people buying houses to use 2 weeks a year and leave vacant the other 50 weeks. Housing flipping for sure. Looking to potentially buy at the moment, and everything has been fitted with new grey kitchens and modern lighting etc, which isn't my style. I may be in the minority here, but means paying way more for a house and then having the job of ripping everything out. I hate when houses have that soulless hotel look. Ditto. They tend to be lacking in character from the home's original era. One can create a modernized house while still adhering to some form of its origin form design. 80s and 90s cars. The market is super hot right now and all the rich guys are buying them up. Sorta like 50s and 60s cars in the 90s. This seems to be the norm once cars reach around 25 to 30 years old. People that grew up with these cars are now in their 40s and can afford to pay for them. Edit. Okay. Obviously the car has to be desirable or somewhat rare for this to hold true. Can't just buy an early 2000s Corolla and expect it to be worth big in 20 years. Unless it's a Toyota Corolla Matrix XRS. These cars are hidden gems and might be worth something in the future. Trust. Partially. The other part is the Cash for Clunkers program in 2010 destroyed a lot of the mid-90s cars that are now sought after. So there is even less supply in the market. Earth. It's hard to feel good about not using plastic straws when Elon creates more carbon emissions in one day to go see the World Cup than I create in 1 year. You know what's easy to make, reusable, can be sterilized and even recycled later? Ducking glass. What happened to glass bottles? Oh, that's right. It was too expensive to send them back the manufacturer to washed and reused. So pets cut costs by using a cheaper material and blaming the public for not knowing what the duck to do with it after. Government. Of the rich by the rich for the rich. The housing market. The standard of living for everyone else. Montessori schools. The method was created to be able to teach poor orphans well despite little funding. Now it's some sort of elite schooling for $20,000 plus a year. Collecting. In the past few years the price of little collectibles and things of that sort have gone insanely high. Cards, action figures, you name it. Just look up any sub for a hobby and you'll see people dropping your entire salary in one day. The annoying thing is, the wealthy getting into collecting often don't give a flying duck about the interest. It's either an investment to them, or to show their status and wealth by hanging on the office wall. Theme parks. Gone are the days when everyone was equal and you all had to queue, regardless of your income. And even until recently some theme parks gave fast passes periodically throughout the day. Now if you've got deep pockets you can queue jump, making your day a little better and everyone else's a little worse. I haven't been to Disney since 2015 when they still had the free fast passes. My mum went earlier this year and I couldn't believe it when she told me how bad the system is now. Plus everything theme park related post-pandemic has been so crowded you can't even move. I wonder if it will ever be the same as before. Probably not though. Clothing brands. Carhartt, Dongies, Levi's and many more. Like why did a Dongies shirt go from $15 to almost $40 in a few years? I remember not long ago Champion was the cheap Walmart brand no one wanted. Now it's an overpriced name brand. I don't understand it. Champion is a brand people are shelling out for now. The school says you absolutely must have a t-shirt for gym brand. Good god. Everything really. Moffas have more money than common sense and jack up the prices for the rest of us. Thrift stores. I used to thrift a lot and found it got ruined right when that damn Macklemore song came out. It's like he told everyone a secret. I used to be able to go thrifting and come back with like 3 new work shirts and a pair of pants for like $15. Good clothes too. some with the tags still on it, after that damn song. Good luck finding my size at all. The clothes that were left were all shit, and they want $10 for a shirt now. Another thing that contributed to this was thrift stores and places like Goodwill doing their own auction sites. So now they take all the high value items and auction them off. This makes it pretty much impossible to find a gem on the shelf anymore. Being poor, I can't even be homeless without trying to fight for a camping spot. Haha, there are rich folks camping in their Benz Sprinter in front my apartment as I type this. Concerts. You can't even buy a beer at one for what a general admission ticket used to cost, and people still pay for it. I stopped drinking at shows because of it. I have a couple beers in the parking lot, sip on a bottle of water in the show, and not go stand in the bathroom line every 45 minutes. Saves me a ton of money too. Gestures at everything edit. Thank you kind strangers for the awards. Show me one thing they haven't ducked up. Actually don't. They might be watching. My hometown. A lot of the long-time locals here are working class, and it used to have a bigger sense of community. In the recent decade, rich people have decided that it's a cute small town with pretty scenery to buy a second home to rent out to other rich people who want to visit. Many of the long-time residents here are struggling to find homes. Meanwhile, rich people who just discovered this small town can easily buy a home or rent an overpriced Airbnb. Literally disgusting here now. Are you from entire state of Maine? Once upon a time nobody knew where Maine was. Now I see it in the comments of anything referencing rich people and property. Cheap foods, like chicharrones or tuétano. I'm from Mexico. When I was a kid, tuétano was something that were even gift in meats market. Now they sell you a damn bone-in meat price or even higher. The same with chicharron. That was really cheap to buy, but with rich people discovering how good it is, now is impossible. All places up the prices because rich people buy it at high rates and don't know what the heck they are shopping anyway. Brisket used to be a leftover cut given to the workers who figured out how to make it awesome. Now we have brisketflation and rich people smoking them on their $1,500 Bluetooth enabled pellet smoker. Cheap cuts of meat in general, pork belly and oxtail specifically. Growing up, oxtail used to be less than $2 a pound. Now it's well over $10. The easy answer, everything. The harder answer, interclass solidarity and quality of life. They've worked so hard to separate the have-nots into their own little groups. We're too busy fighting each other instead of taking the fight. Politically speaking, to the rich and the 1%, you have more in common with your fellow man than you ever will with a Bill Gates or Elon Musk. Edit. Thanks for the awards. Holy hell. Glad my highest post is about something important. 3. Yep, I saw a sign at a protest not too long ago that was something along the lines of, they have you fighting a culture war when you should be fighting a class war. Sailboats. Used to be you could on a working man's salary get a decent day sailing boat that you could go out with for the day with enough cabin space and amenities to live aboard for a long weekend. Maybe a week, like the MacGregor 26. But nobody makes mere sailboats anymore. They make yachts, expensive, over-designed yachts. You can still pick up an old Catalina for $5,000 or less, but if you want something made in the last 20 years it's crazy expensive. The problem is most boat owners never leave the dock. A boat is just another status symbol that you get to show off to your poorer friends. There are guys like myself that like cheap boats that you can wrench on and then sail the shit out of them, but they are few and far between. Most boats are simply floating patios where you serve domestic cheese and bad wine. Once the rich find out about anything good, they wreck it for the rest of us. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, internet, environment. Internet was the one I was going to go with. Back when the internet was just losers who had no other place in society, everything was cool. You knew the only people online were people who genuinely wanted to be part of the community and subculture. Then the rich people found out about it, and now it's nothing but ads, subscriptions, fees, data gathering, and rich people pretending to be hip. Who had no other place in society, had little to no friends growing up. So pretty much a loser. I found internet forums and made friends and stuff. Finally felt accepted. Then around 2011 everything changed. The people changed. The culture changed. And I somehow became a loser again. Especially with online life and real life merging more and more. Video games. They found a way to sell unfinished games while also maximizing microtransactions in some. Some companies are better about this, but the big ones are all about the money with as little effort as possible. Instagram. When it first launched, we were content to post grainy pics of our average looking sandwich that we made ourselves, or a mundane selfie. The background and the angle didn't matter. Studies show that since the wealthy started sharing their lives on IG, our collective standard of living changed, and it's trickled down to our influencers mimicking wealth down to average users. We're exposed to yacht parties, expertly organized and color-coded walk-in closets, high-end facials and party-planned gender reveals. We're benchmarking our posts with professional photographers and videographers, elevating our expectations for everything. Edit. For those saying, just don't use it. It's influenced every aspect of society whether you're on it or not. Collectively, society aspires to a flashier existence. Instagram has inspired new aesthetic-forward businesses like restaurants and coffee shops, tourism, home decor and types of homes, gyms and gym bodies, fashion. This underplays the hand Meta had in making sure Instagram developed this way. You can't even scroll your own feed anymore without seeing shit from people you don't follow and have no interest in following. It's inescapable now. Bourbon. It used to be the most expensive bourbon you could find was like $100. Now, with everyone collecting, the prices have skyrocketed. The secondary market is completely insane. I remember a couple of years ago you could walk in a Bevmo and just pick up a bottle of Blanton's, walk home, make your mint julep and it's all good. Nowadays, it's like Blanton's is some Shangri-La of bourbon, ducking John Wick. Music festivals. Used to be a bunch of hippies having a good time and doing drugs. Now it's rich kids taking selfies dressed as hippies and doing drugs. Nerd paraphernalia like Star Wars or Marvel DC stuff, action figures, comic books, etc. used to be just a fun hobby for kids and kids at heart. Now it's almost totally purchased by richer, dedicated speculators solely for profit. The middle class family's ability to live comfortably on a single wage. Thailand. It used to be a backpacker's paradise. You used to be able to stay in huts on the beach and eat in local family-run restaurants, all taken over by 5-star spa resort hotels. International chains and businesses moved in. It's also very hard for the locals here in Thailand. We don't have effective law against monopolies. Only a few rich co-operates own most of the country's businesses and drove the locals out of theirs. The government also just enacted a new law where foreigners can actually own lands and properties if they pay up. Chinese billionaires are swooping up everything they can. Renting the overabundance of Airbnbs and $2,000 studio apartments in rural suburban places is outrageous and ruining the possibility for low-income and working-class people to have a roof over their heads. I live in New York State, and ever since COVID all these city richies are buying up all the cheap places in the country to try and make a profit, as if they need any more money. Tulum, Jackson Hope, Aspen, many rural areas of Colorado, Antigua, Guatemala, Land Rover Defenders, etc. Formerly cool towns, Denver, Austin, Asheville, etc. Hockey. The equipment is now super expensive, and ice time fees are becoming exorbitant. This isn't even getting into levels of play. If you want to have a shot at the NHL, then your family better be able to fork over $20,000, $30,000 for AAA prep schools or the like, because Terry Junior teams and Major Junior, which are the leagues that the NHL scouts, only select from AAA leagues. It's still better than some things, like ducking cheerleading. They have an outfit and don't have to pay for ice, yet one kid's cheerleading is more expensive for the year than my other's hockey. Doesn't help that the stupid cheerleading moms coaches want to do every goddamn thing to spend money. Catered dinners, events with different outfits, even stupid priced shoes. It's what happens when someone who was popular in HS never lets go. When I was 21 and single, fishmongers used to give away throw-out fish heads. They now charge. Flank steak was way cheap until people learned how to cook it. Now it's bloody expensive. Tiny houses or organic farming. Free-range chickens or egg. Now everything is expensive because it's in trend. Whoa, You made it to the end, you're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.